Well, I'm back here on the 37. I took this tie rod out that was out here in front, and I cut the tie rod off of these spindles. Flipped it around, so I have a tie rod now back of the axle, and I'm looking at this steering angle from the center of the ball joint through the tie rod end, and it looks like it's pointing approximately at the center of the back of the car. Same thing here. You know, it's I've got a pretty decent angle in here right now. I got enough room here for this to raise up maybe an inch. It's going to interfere with these brakes, or the mounting of the brakes. I'm not sure exactly what I'll do there, but I can just weld this right in here, and that'll put my tie rod up here. Ordinarily, you know, the tie rod would be back a few inches more. I've got it about the center of these drums. I've got, you know, maybe an inch here on the radiator before it's hitting anything. I might be able to get it back like about this much, so the front end will go up and down and miss the headlight stands. And I can still, well, now see, I'm kind of too far back now, because I got like an inch hole over here, and it's going to be the same on both sides. At this point, all I can really do is take these brakes loose from here. Hopefully they didn't use a 2-inch long bolt in it, and get the brakes loose and out of the way. If I have to, I can bend them down here and fit them in here. That's not that big a deal. But I think this will work out for where the tie rod needs to go. It's giving me the right angle, Ackerman angle. This was over on the other side, and when I flipped them around, yeah, it was good, but it was going to interfere. This tie rod was trying to go below this, so there was no way I could get that in like that. So the only way to do it's up here high like this. All I can do is weld it up and try to get it to clear this radiator with a flipped around studs there, and that'll give me my right steering angle. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to, you know, the tie rod was good the way it was before. They turned the front end around, but I was able to flip the brackets, and I'll have to instead of taking it down, I'll take it up. I've probably shortened it towards the axle, you know, maybe an inch. I'm hoping that won't make any difference. The only other solution I've got here is to try to raise it and go under these arms, and that's not gonna work. So I'll cut these brackets off a little better. This one I didn't do too bad, but I had an angle. I'll cut these off flush, both of them, and see if I can get them brakes loose and bend them out of the way. I don't know if this was recording or not, but I got these both tacked in. I jacked it up, and I've got clearance here. These are both 15 inches off the ground, and I got a 1/4 inch here, and just a little more than a 1/4 there, so that the tie rod ends are pretty straight. It was really tough for that little welder to tack these things. They're just too big of a metal, but I got it tacked pretty solid, and I think it's strong enough to pull off of there and weld a little better, and I'll put it back on and see what I got. Well, took that apart, and I about half welded these things. You're not my little welder, it only produces like 120 amps or something. With wire, it's really not getting hot enough, but I put 3 or 4 passes in here. I cleaned it up with a grinder, but this is plenty solid now. And looking at my angle, it's about to the center line of the truck back there. I'm going to try to move the wheel there. Actually, are turning just a little bit now. Of course, that piece of tin foil there is not doing anything, and it's loose in here. So I'm going to try to tighten it up and just weld a brace on it for now. Piece of angle iron across here ought to stiffen it up pretty good. It's not going to help the bolts being loose, but so far so good. Broke out the stick welder, and melted this in pretty good. Same thing with this one. Not the best weld, but it's pretty good. And still hot. I welded it all the way around good. Turned out this little Amico MIG welder goes to 130 amps, and I got this little rod at 80 amps was just cooking, you know. So I used a bigger rod, and I think I'm at 105 amps right now, and it's melting into this real good. So I'm sure that's welded good. I made 3 or 4 passes on the inside and on the outside. I'll grind this up a little bit just to clean it, but should be plenty strong. And they look real close, very similar anyway. I'm probably going to have to cut me a groove here in this suicide perch to clear that tie rod, but it's actually right at the front of the that tube, and I didn't want to move it forward anymore. I'm like right about the edge of the brake drum right now. I shortened the leverage up. I don't want to shorten it anymore. And if it does, if the tie rod does hit the frame here, I can either, kind of a funky way of doing it, but I can either put a step in this tie rod. That means it'll be limited to a full turn for the toe. Or I could basically redo the spring perch and move it forward like a half an inch. I really don't want to do that. The other thing would be to cut this off round and weld that all up. That'd give me another half inch. But I'm hoping with the coilovers it'll hold it up far enough. It's when you jack or when the car comes up, then the tie rod comes down and hits this. So don't know exactly what's going to happen with that, but at least I got it all welded together. It's good and solid now, and burnt myself really good. I have to forget how to weld and be careful with hot stuff. I'm going to let it cool, have lunch, and then I'll grind this up and put it in, and we'll see what we got. Well, there we go. 1/4 inch over here. Need a little more than 1/4 there. My tie rod's into my frame, but it's bent backwards a little. Looks like I got about 2 inches or so here. So the car is going to be able to raise up 2 inches. We'll throw a jack under it and see what we do have. Yeah, 1 inch. Wheels just started to turn. They're off the ground right now. So wheel is off the ground, and I probably have 1/2 inch to that brace. Well, it's still coming up a little more. Right there's touching the brace, but the wheels are on the ground. So that's our upper travel. I have to do a little adjusting, but I got about 3-4 inches drop. Well, no, it bounced down a couple, but I didn't go for beauty, but I did grind these off where they look pretty good. It's as good as it was before. And the important thing is it's going to steer right now. So even with that funky tin foil in there, well, maybe I spoke too soon on that, but I should be able to steer it. I found a rake, 1 inch square tubing, and I was thinking about just welding a piece of that on top of there to stiffen it. Just so I can get it out of here and park it while I'm waiting on parts. Anyway, this looks pretty good. I don't know why it wouldn't work. Looks like I got about 6 inches between the kingpin and the tie rod end. Ought to be plenty strong. And we'll see what happens. Did a little more looking at this mess here. For one thing, this I don't know if you can see, but I'm just pulling on this. I can bend this bracket that the steering's put on. This is going in towards, over here I'm like 2 inches away from the frame, and over here I'm almost the inside of the frame. I know why they did this, so they get this steering bar here straight. But I think I can just cut this exhaust pipe off. This will let me drop this down at least an inch. And if I move it to the outside an inch or so, yeah, I'll mess up the geometry here a little bit. But the only thing that's really going to affect is the left turn radius. The tire will hit the arm here. I don't know if this steering arm here can be turned around, whether it's keyed, but even if it is, it doesn't make any difference. I can cut this off and flip it around so it's on the inside. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to unbolt this, try to get that off of there. Maybe what I'll do is just cut this, leave it all bolted together, cut that bracket off of there. Then I can drop this whole thing down, move it out this way. I'm just trying to get it where I can kind of drive it around a little bit, just to pull it in and out while I'm waiting on the headers. And I may be able to, I can just cut this off with a Sawzall or something to get it out of the way. There's lots of ways of trying to get this done right. But if I cut this one exhaust pipe, that'll enable me to drop that box down quite a bit. At least I can sort of see what's going on. I guess I can always weld it back to where it was. That's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to cut this thing off of here with a cut-off tool. Drop it down. I can throw a weld on it there just to hold it in place. I don't know how low I can go in here though. Looks like that whole bracket's, no, it won't drop. That inside bracket's going to stop it. Let's see if I can get you some light. Yeah, you can see that the steering box is right up against that bracket, so there's no more lowering this. The only way to really do it is cut that whole thing off there. Looks like it's been leaking oil quite a bit. It'd probably steer like it is. I still have this problem with the carburetor being stuck open. Can't really tell whether it's carburetor stuck or don't look like there are any cables holding anything. When it fires up, it just really something's fishy in there. I guess I can drive it like it is, enough to go park it. So, and it's quite a bit of work to try to patch up that steering box. At least I can move this thing around. It's going to be a few days before I get the headers, but I got probably a day here to fool with the steering box. So I guess the deal now is to see what's going on with that carburetor and get it where it'll drive. Well, I got this new GM one-wire alternator. I pulled this other one off, and it's set up for the field and battery and voltage regulator. It wasn't working. I don't know if this was the thing is bad or what, but I went with this one wire. Now this bracket, originally, you can see down in there, there's a, anyway, let me see if I can get the light on. The light's not helping much, but anyway, there it is down in there. Anyway, that inside one went to this bolt, and outside one went to this bolt. This bracket was moved back about 6 inches, and it bolted into the case here. Well, this case is different. So what I figured out here is if I move this over to here, I can still use my adjustment. I can weld up a bracket here out of this 3/8 steel plate. I can take it from this bolt here over to the bolt there. So that'll be mounting the top or the front part of this bracket to the top, and I can bring a piece of steel down to where this one is. You know, there's a bolt hole there. Anyway, I can weld this all together so it'll be bolted onto the head in one spot. And looking inside here, I've got a Mopar bracket. You really can't see, but there's a bolt going down there to the bolt on the block, and I can bring this up here somewhere and make a bracket for that side. So basically all I got to do is make a small bracket for this one. I'll probably just cut it right out of this plate, and then I have to fabricate some kind of bracket that's going down in there from the motor up to this top bracket here. And the alternator will work, and we're only going to have just one wire on it. Whoa, forgot that's got battery in it. So we got a one wire charging system, This upper bolt here is actually should go to adjust and tighten it. I can make another bracket. We got a threaded bung back here. So anyway, I think what this was probably an alternator off of the old GM motor. It's going to be a little tricky to fabricate something to hold this one wire alternator, but it don't look any worse than it was, and it will work. And we can get rid of one of these wires. This whole setup here can go away, and whatever voltage regulator is in there. It might be easier to put a voltage regulator in it if that's the problem, or it could be the alternator, I don't know. But anyway, this is the setup. The belt's good. It looks pretty good. And once I weld up a decent looking bracket, it'll look good and it'll be solid, and won't tweak or vibrate, and the charging problem is finished. Came over today and got to talking about this. See, I've got that bracket about made there for that alternator. But anyway, he decided that he wanted this motor. Uh, 360 Mopar. We'll pull that manifold off there and put a tunnel ram or something like that. He wanted a supercharger, but I think $3,000 is a little, $4,000 is a little too pricey for him. And this motor is going to have plenty of power. Got a brand new electronic ignition set up. We'll hook all this up, and this will go into the Fordo. Looks like my light not doing a hell of a lot of good. I like this phone. It's been a good phone, even though I've dropped it a couple times. Shoots good video. So what I'm going to try to do, I gave him not much money for this motor and transmission. I sold him the other one cheap, but part of the reason why is I'll take this motor, and so I'm just going to make some kind of, we're going to put the other motor in it. There's no use spending a lot of money on making exhaust, so I'll probably just once I can get this steering box moved, I'll probably just cut these headers off here, and just weld them into a tube there and bring the tube down under, or I'll probably take it over the frame. We'll probably cut them right here somewhere, weld those all into a kind of a manifold, and then run it underneath there. Just put mufflers on it. So the idea is to get this running and driving, steering right, handling it good. We're not going for any kind of beauty on the exhaust, just to get some exhaust on it. The other side won't be too hard. Once I move that steering around, we'll be okay there. And give the guy an opportunity to drive the truck around and see how it runs and drives and starts and stops, and we can work out whatever kind of tires we got. We still have to put front shocks on it. We've got a lot of work to do, and I don't really want to pull this motor out and be stuck in the middle of trying to put another motor and transmission and drive line. I'd like to be able to get this running and drive and give it back to him. Finish painting my AMX over there, at least enough to get it where I can drive it out of here. Put this in the back of the shop, and instead of trying to pull the motor right out here in front, I at least would like to get it back in the back, because once we pull the motor, it's probably going to take a week, because we don't know what's going to happen with the drive line. I've got a yoke coming for the transmission. We'll have to make transmission mounts and this and that, but so we probably got a week to put the motor in and get all the parts. And so that's what I'm going to try to do, just get this thing running and driving like it is. Not really worry about the aesthetics of what the exhaust looks like. And we thought about taking the exhaust out of right here, bringing it up straight, and then straight pipes back here. So that can all be done, and that'll look way cool. So I'd just probably get like lake side pipes or something. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, but it's all just kind of hanging here right now on that steering and everything, and so that's what I got to work on. Back here on 37, and I was able to get this pitman arm off, this screwed up puller I got from AutoZone or someplace. It was already stripped down here on the bottom, but the guy bought it anyway. It's the only one he had, so they marked the box broken, so we can get our money back out of that. And I took my new little plasma cutter, and it was some doing, but I managed to cut this plate. Looks like it's 3/8 plate from here, but it's really not. I was cutting it at an angle. But this arm's got to go about right there somewhere. So I have to do a little more fabricating. I need to bring it in about this much so it'll clear those pipes. So the very minimum, I got to cut this plate off flat. And this plate is 3/8, pretty heavy. And there's this little plasma cutter on 110. I've blown the breaker a couple times. It's just barely running 50 amps. And kind of hard cutting. I mean, it's a lot better than trying to do it with cutoff tool, but this don't look like it's welded on the back, so I think I could probably take my cutoff tool here on the bottom, cut it here on this weld, and I could probably break that loose from the frame and see what I got. I went ahead and welded up a bracket here for the alternator, and it's got a big heavy one here on top. Got the one wire in, belt's all straight, charges 14 volts. Since we're gonna put that 360 in, I'm not gonna spend any money on manifolds. I'm just gonna try to make something that'll jump down here and go into the under the frame. And they make like a lake pipe, like on a Corvette, a side pipe, and they're about 3 foot long, 3 to 4 foot, and they're nice shiny chrome. And I think we can mount that here below the bed, drop it down there, and then I only have to put pipes under this. We won't need mufflers because lake pipes have mufflers in them. Anyway, still got to try to cut this mess out of there. Took some doing. Looks like there was some weld here on the inside. I tried to cut it loose with the cutoff tool, but I just couldn't get it loose. I did manage to cut this one on the bottom, and I put a chisel in here, and I was able to break it loose. So I think now I can take just mark it right along here somewhere, right flush with the frame, and I'm going to give this a try with that plasma cutter. I don't think it's going to cut this thick of a material. Maybe I can do an inch or so at a time, because it's 2 plates, 2 1/4-inch plates, and 1 10/4 of maximum. I'll give it a try, and if I can't get it to penetrate, I'll just cut this off with a cutoff tool and get rid of this whole piece here flat with the frame, and then I can see what I can do about mounting the steering box. Well, a little plasma cutter did work. We got through 2 of these pieces, and I was able to chisel this one off. You can tell how good a weld it was. So at least I got the kind of the frame stripped down. I don't know why they put this in here. You know, they just really weakened the frame. I can't really tell how well it's welded. It don't look like it's very good. But at least I can put this thing back up in here. Not really a one-handed job. So I'll have to, looks like it needs to be slid up some. Whatever. Two-handed job. It looks like I'm gonna take the plasma cutter and cut the rest of that out down 1/2 inch or so. Just try to get it flush with that little channel that's in there. And once I can do that, I can set this box down in there and kind of see where we're going. Well, that's roughly mocked up where it needs to go. It's got to go in. I was able to just flip that arm over with the arm we got there. It needs to go in about 1 inch, and the side of the box here against the frame. like I say, the side of the box is against the frame. I need to cut that frame out a little more. I've got about, gotta go another inch forward. This is with everything mocked up kind of straight. I'm low again here. Now the steering shaft is very straight. So, well, we got some misalignment to it, but it's not bad. Now I can see the splines down in here are all the way bottomed out. This flat section here, I'm all the way up to the edge. So I think I need to cut off about 2 inches right in here somewhere of this top shaft. That'll move my steering box back. I can always lengthen this rod here. I won't have to cut up any more of that frame. So that's what I'm going to have to do. This is flat, 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 flat. What the spline is doing in here, I assume just like a Mustang, or maybe it is a Mustang, I don't know. But I don't think this is flat and splined. I don't know what the deal is. I think it would only be flat or splined, and it'll slide a little in here or slide a little in there. They may have made this out of 2 pieces. But I got to get that steering box moved back. With the way the arms and everything are right now, the steering box will work in that position. Boy, it's sure sticking out a long ways. You know, I still can, it's got to go on the splines and go in 1.5 inches or so. So that'll straighten up everything here. And I can make some kind of a, you know, I've got this old bracket here. To go into the frame. I really don't like the idea of that. It's, you know, having a bracket 6 or 7 inches sticking out of the side of the frame. I think what I should do, maybe go ahead, let me remark this up. I think if I raise that steering box up, tilt it a little, I'll still be able to get some of the steering box onto the frame. Shorten my brackets up. Let's see what that does. That looks a little better. I got the steering box in about 2 inches. With the reverse pitman arm, it's straight. I can always reverse this again the other way. I've got a couple fingers underneath the pipe. The steering angle's fairly straight. I've got maybe a 15 or 20 degree bend here. Got that all blocked up, but I can weld some kind of a bracket across here straight into the frame. and then gusset it so it won't be twisting. It's a little cleaner. It's still sticking out, and kind of ugly. And I'm going to have a pretty good size bracket on here going to the frame. Some way there we're going to make that look right. The strongest way would just be to put a triangle in here like this. And I'm down on the frame there without cutting a hole in the frame and trying to lower it. That's pretty much where I'm going to wind up being. I just the way that little cut 50 cutter there actually worked pretty good. Even on 110 it was cutting almost a ½ inch. Now you can see what that steering looks like from here. It's awfully big and ugly. Just don't look too bad from this angle, but the time I put all them brackets in there, it's going to look terrible. Have to think about that one for a while. Kind of backed up on the thinking this through. And I got that box down inside the frame, and the steering arm is pretty straight, and I've got the angle there generally pointing up. We'll probably, oh, I don't know, 6 inches, 7 inches on the inside of the steering column. Now, I've done this before. I mean, that's where that box really should go, and it won't be bad at all to make a bracket for that. I can lower it down a little more. And anyway, that'll bolt really solid onto the frame with just you know, some kind of a good plate in there. Probably you can use this one, strengthen it a little bit, because it's not pressing up and down. It would just be back and forth. Now the problem is getting from way out here on the steering column to in there, and of course you can see that's like, you know, 3 inches, 4 inches too long. So any kind of steering is going to go right through the exhaust. But you know, this will look fine. It's all inside the frame. not really interfering with the belts or something. I can make sure that don't occur. But anyway, I think that steering box will work there. And these rag joints don't move very much. But now we got a problem of getting under and behind these. I can of course rotate this steering box now like at this angle, and I could rotate it up like this. In fact, looks like that might be what I need to do. Rotated it up again, and that looks like it'll clear the headers, and it's sort of where it was before. But I've got the steering box inside the frame quite a bit now. I'm still alright with the belts and a couple good Borgeson steering joints. Probably be 3, because these things don't, you know, that's got, I don't know, 15 or 20 degrees, and that one there is probably pretty tight for a U-joint or a rag joint. But we either got it mounting flush and going under the headers, or tilt it like that and go above the headers. So I think that's the way to go. And of course the headers are going to be, we got to design it to clear them here on this motor. Don't have one on it right now. I could put these little cast iron type manifolds on them. That would take it to the back and dump it down. So we could bring the steering right through here. Gonna need to do some measuring. But I think that's going to wind up being more or less where this thing goes. I've just got it propped up with some junk iron right now. Well, the braces I cut off of this thing, I could probably still use that one, or at least the holes in it. Have to get another big steel plate. I might have a piece somewhere. So I'll have to make it work with these headers for now, and we'll do a little measuring on where the motor is. But I'm pretty sure the solution is to put a couple good steering joints in there. I'll try to shorten this. Yeah, it's just not gonna work. It's into the head. I have to think about this one again, but I think it's probably gonna be the best to put it in right here. And my steering is pretty straight and level. I have to do a little more cutting in that frame and see what I can do about getting the box straighter. Right now I've got it way too far forward. See, I could move it back about 2 or 3 inches. That's what I need. Need it pointing up right through here. And probably can use this bracket to put a heim joint to hold the shaft right here. And that'll keep it from moving back and forth here. The motor's not going to be moving around much at all, maybe a little. But looks like that'll be a good place to brace the front one. And I could most likely cut this steering out of here. Don't know what I'm going to do that yet. Need to go to the inside. I can't move it much the way they got that throttle. Boy, that's quite a brake system they got, man. It's like a big old giant pedal going over to alter the firewall there. Yeah. Funky brake switch too. I guess it works good enough. But shouldn't be that much trouble to get rid of that gas pedal and move that steering column over some. You know, if this was my car, I'd just decide on it and do it. But since it's the customer's, kind of got to ask him. He'll say do whatever you want. But no, I don't think he realizes how much money he's going to have in here. And I can't move it in a lot. I'm already kind of up against where the plug wires are. But it does look like it's kind of not exactly center here. I could probably move it over an inch on top. I don't know how he's got this welded in. Just a bracket. Shouldn't be in trouble to bore another hole in there and move that over an inch. Anyway, battery's running out, so that's kind of the end of the video for today.